shade the region that satisfies those four inequalities. Now we're going to have to draw four lines corresponding to the equations equivalent to those inequalities. So we're going to have to draw the line x equals 0, the line y equals 0, the line y equals 3x minus 6, and the line 2x plus y equals 12. And then we're going to shade on the side of the line which satisfies the inequality, and we should be left with an unshaded region, which is the region that we want. Now when the inequality includes an equal, so for example if the first one had been x is greater than or equal to 0, then we draw a solid line to show that any points on that line were included in our required region. Where we haven't got an equals, where it's just greater than or less than, we do a dashed line to show that any points on the line are not included in our required region. And it's also worth emphasizing that we shade in the region which we do not want. So what we're left with should be an unshaded region that's the required one. So if we'll start with the first inequality, x is greater than 0. Now that requires us to draw the line x equals 0. Now the line x equals 0, and we'll do that line in dashed because it's the inequality doesn't include an equals. So although we need to draw the line x equals 0, it's going to be dashed because our inequality doesn't include equals. And x equals 0 is just the y-axis, so we need a dashed line going down the y-axis. Whoops, I've gone a bit off, but it's not too bad. Going down like this, and that's the line x equals 0. And we want x to be bigger than 0, so anything that's less than 0 is to the left of the line, and we do not want this. So this is the bit that I shade in. So we don't want anything that's in this part of the graph. Right, there we are. Now the next one I'll do in black, and that's y has got to be greater than 0. So we need to draw the line y equals 0. Again, we do it as a dashed line because our inequality doesn't include equals. We only want points that are not on the line y equals 0. Now y equals 0 is the same as the x-axis, so what we're going to have to draw is a dashed line along the x-axis. Something like this. And that's the line y equals 0. We want y to be bigger than 0, so anything below that line is not required. So I shade that bit. Right, the next one is y has got to be greater than 3x minus 6. So we need to draw the line y equals 3x minus 6. Again, it's going to be a dashed line because our inequality doesn't include equals. And now the line 3x minus 6 is going to be a straight line. It's going to go through the point 0 minus 6. So it's going to go through this point here. It's also, when y is 0, x has got to be 2 because 3 times 2 is 6 minus 6 is 0. So it's also going to go through the point 2, 0. Now if we've got 2 points, it's a bit easier to sketch it now. Right, so it's going to look something like, something like this. Whoops. Haven't drawn it great, but something like that. Okay, and that's the line y. Whoops. That's the line y equals 3x minus 6. And we want y to be bigger than that, so anything below that line is not included. So I shade what I don't want, which is anything that's below the line. So all of this stuff here. is below the line. And finally, we've got 2x plus y is less than 12. So I write it as an equation with an equals, and we're going to have to draw the line that corresponds to that equation. Might be a bit easier if I rearrange it. So y equals minus 2x plus 12. Right, now when x is 0, you can see that y is going to be 12. And when y is 0, you should be able to see that x is going to be 6. Okay, so it's going to go through the point 0, 12, that point there. And it's going to go through the point 6, 0, which is that point there. And it's going to be a dashed line because we're not including 0 in our inequality. And I'm going to try and draw it. Whoops, not quite right, but something like, it's not great, but something like that. And if I label it, that's the line 2x plus y equals 12. And we want it to be less. If we rearrange this, we'll get 2x plus y is less than 12. Move the 2x over and we'll have y is less than minus 2x plus 12. Which means we don't want it where y is greater, so we don't want it to be above. So all this area here we don't want. I'll shade this out. Now what we're left with, what is unshaded, is going to be the area which we require, which we've got to label R. So R is going to be that area in the middle there. So any points that are in this area should satisfy all four of those inequalities. And notice that the lines surrounding the area are dashed because any points lying on those lines will not be in our required region because our inequalities don't contain equals. They are just either less than or more than.